I have a really, really cool review for you today. It's a brand new product, just came out a few days ago. I'm going to probably be the first to review it on YouTube because I buy my stuff. I bought this from OneXPlayer, OneXPlayer X2. It's a brand new handheld from OneXPlayer. You can see it looks really weird, but it's not just a handheld. It's a 3-in-1. So let's do it what it's supposed to do. So here we have a handheld, right? Handheld, mini PC, gaming handheld, whatever you want to call it, like that. Close that up. We have a gaming handheld, right? Obviously, it's a lot bigger of a screen than, you know, the 8 inch. This is an 8-inch handheld. You can see it's a lot bigger, but it's for people who want to have a massive immersion fulfilling handheld like that. Huge screen, 1600p screen. You can throw it in low resolutions, whatever. That's great. It's not just that though. You can actually detach these controllers like you can with a lot of handhelds, right? Detach that. You can get this. This is optional, but I highly recommend you buy it. It's just a little connector there. Throw that on there, and you can do that, right? You have your tablet in front of you, and then you have this, and you're playing games on this. Pew, 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 pew. That's sweet. And of course, it is a tablet for watching shows and doing tablet-y stuff. And it's a laptop, 3-in-1, with mouse and keyboard, and a good keyboard. So this is for people who are looking to not only have, you know, a handheld, and you can get a handheld and you can use these as like a PC, but it's, you know, it's very much a handheld. Very much a handheld. This is kind of all of them, right? It is a handheld, and it can be totally native as a handheld. It's not too big with its 10.95-inch screen, but it is big. So it's a big handheld. It's a little small for a laptop, but it's not too small. Again, 11 inches for a laptop is totally fine, and it's the standard size for your tablet, like the same as a iPad Air, for example. This is for people who want to be able to take one device, especially in this, you know, kind of expensive market, and it's easy to justify, right? You can take something like this and you can replace multiple products with it. Get out. I'll put some links in the video description down below. If I can find affiliate links, I'll put them down there. I don't take any sponsors, no money, none of that on this channel. And I buy these. I bought this, and I have 2 more coming. I have the OneXPlayer 3 and the X2 Mini Pro coming, and I bought all of them, all 3 of them. So the affiliate links help support my channel a lot. Obviously views do too, but affiliate links help a lot. So if you're going to buy it anyways, check out the links and buy it through that. It helps me a lot, and it helps me maintain full sponsor free. Let's look at the website here. So it is on an early launch sale. This is what I paid. I bought mine. And you have no configs here, you just have the one option. Importantly, here we'll go over some of the specs. So this here does have the Intel G3 Extreme. I think it's the second on the market to have that. The first was the MSI Claw, and OneXPlayer has some more coming as well. I have a lot of experience with the Intel Arc 358H, the Panther Lake CPU that comes with this same iGPU. The main difference here is the G3, they do actually cut out to a couple of the cores. So yeah, you do lose a little bit of CPU performance off of, like, for example, my laptop, my Panther Lake laptop, but it doesn't really matter because you're never going to be CPU bound really when you're gaming on these handhelds, and it does allow it to be more efficient. Again, you do have that B390 iGPU, which is awesome, incredible iGPU, rivaling the Strix Halo. Depending which one you get, they're a little different, but awesome iGPU. Only one config for RAM. You do get 48 gigabytes of RAM, which is a ton. Obviously, and especially in this market, it's crazy that they're able to sell this for this price with that much RAM, meaning you can allocate a ton of RAM to your iGPU, like 32 gigabytes instead of 16 left over for your system. Just sweet. Gaming, I just put it to 16. And the screen here is an awesome screen, 138% sRGB, aka 100% DCI-P3. It's a 10.95-inch screen, basically the same as the previous generation, 120 Hz refresh, 1600p, so very high resolution for gaming, depending on the games. If they're, you know, a couple years old AAA games or just not as demanding, you can easily game at full resolution with that iGPU. Then of course, you know, in most modern games you can do some scaling or set it to 1200p or even 800p. Battery is decent size, 65 watt hours. I mean, you know, some people will be like, why is it not 80 watt hours or something? But 65 watt hours is decent. You'll see when I open this thing up, it is jam-packed inside. So there's just nowhere they could put any more battery. Okay, and here it is in its partial form, taken off the controllers. When the controller's on and it's in tablet mode, it obviously looks funny. But yeah, it's just an interesting little thing when the controllers are attached. So we can take this off here and we'll give it its 3 modes. So it's a 3-in-1, right? It's a true 3-in-1. Turn that down, it could be loud. It's a true 3-in-1 type device. I use the X1 Pro, which is the AMD HX370 version of this. I used it for like a year as my primary device. I even did like a challenge where I used it as a handheld, my only laptop, and I even used it as my only desktop. That one had an Oculink port, so that helped a bit, but you know, this is still a pretty sweet 3-in-1. So we'll take that's handheld mode right there, right? So you close that up and you have this giant handheld. We'll get into the ergo in a minute, show how this thing kind of operates in an ergonomic standpoint. We can see there, now we have this handheld. Huge screen. We'll compare that in a sec. Take these off here. Just a quick release button right there. Pops off, and now all of a sudden you have an actual tablet. Of course, you can hold it, or it has the kickstand built in, like that. Of course, it does that kind of stuff too. Very cool. And then, of course, you have the keyboard, which is magnetized and snaps on. And now all of a sudden you have a little like laptop keyboardy type thing, and it can replace a laptop, which is sweet. And the screen is good. I mean, here's the thing. We'll get into that, the specs on everything, but this is a 10.95-inch screen, so it's kind of good for everything. It's not going to be perfect for everything, so it's not the perfect size for a laptop. It's a little small, but it's doable. I mean, it is actually kind of the perfect size for a tablet. Tablets, I mean, 11 is kind of the perfect spot for most tablets, so I guess it is perfect there. And then for handhelds, it's huge, right? It's a gigantic handheld, but it's not so big. Like, I've seen people have handles on like their Z13 Asus, and it's like this cookie sheet that you're gaming on. This is big, but it's not ridiculous. Once you start to use this, it may look like it's weird, but it's not. So that's that. Anyway, so these come on and attach. Depending on what you want to do, they do come with a carrying case, so you can get that hooked up. Let's see all the goodies that come with it. So when you unbox it, of course, you get the controllers. The controllers actually came with a carrying case. I did actually order, and it was not very expensive. It was like, I don't know, I can't remember. It would be in whatever currencies, but this is the little attachment. It goes in the middle. Optional. You don't have to get it, but it comes with it. If you buy it, and it comes in here with the controllers. So we got those. Little carrying case for that. Very good. Set that over there. Carrying case for the actual tab. Close that up. Go like that. OneXPlayer little thing. You have your little ribbon so that you can pull it out easily and zip it up. So yes, the controllers obviously go separately because it would be the weirdest case otherwise. But now you can take this. So if you're going and you're using this as like a on-the-go laptop or a tablet and you don't need the controllers, you can leave them, or you can put them in their box, throw them in your backpack, and this is your kind of carry for. One of the things that OneXPlayer does focus on is like a nice presentation. They take themselves serious, we'll put it that way. You get a little box here with some Mandarin. Enjoy my time. Anywhere, anytime. Sounds kind of cool. Manual. And then inside here, we have our little presentation. These covered the joystick ports. There was the joystick, the gamepads, sorry. And then we get our charger. As you can see, I haven't been using the charger. Now I've had this for 3 or 4 days, no more than that, maybe like a week now. I don't rush my reviews. Some creators might do that, especially the big channels, because it's all about just the clicks and that kind of stuff. A lot of I consider myself still a smaller YouTuber. A lot of us are focused on the content itself, the product itself, getting stuff to the audience that people want to see. So I have it for a while. I'm not gonna lie to you, I never used this, but this is a nice little braided cable here, and we have our GAN charger here. That's a 100-watt charger, which is overkill, but whatever, it's fine. So put that there, and that's the presentation. Okay, so let's now compare the device to some other devices. So I have a few things I can compare to here. I have a small, where are you? I have a small tablet. I have a laptop. I have all kinds of stuff. So I guess technically, first and foremost, it is a handheld. Like that's what it's sold as. It's a 3-in-1, but it is sold like it's a handheld, right? So we're going to go in handheld mode. We're going to take that off. Take that off. We're going to come in here. We're going to hook it up, put it into handheld mode, and we're going to compare it to some other handhelds. We're going to talk about the ergos and all that kind of stuff. We'll also compare it to some laptops. So what do we have here? Well, we have a 2-in-1, 3-in-1 device where the keyboard is magnetized, hooks on. Right, take that off. It's going to be powered by that. It's magnetized, all that kind of stuff there. Here now, all of a sudden, we have a handheld, right? True handheld. That's connected there. Everything's good. Take that off and just get into the device here. We'll get into the controllers, of course, in a moment. And then now we just have a tablet type device. And this is the primary device. This is the computer, basically. So on the bottom here, we have 2 general connectors, right? We have connector, and that's the actual, like where the information goes. And when you want to get into this thing, you do have to remove that sticker there for later. On the left side, we do have speaker 1, right side speaker 2. This is the rails for where the controllers hook in. It's actually very robust this year. It's very well upgraded. last year there was a little bit of flimms to it, even when it was brand new, the last couple models. This feels rock solid. And it's not just me. I am on the OneXPlayer Discord a lot, just chatting, because when new stuff comes out, I need community feedback. And that's how I get community feedback. I get feedback from other owners or prospective owners. And other people who have this and who had the previous ones agree that that connector feels really nice. The controllers are the same, but that connector feels very much improved in terms of being robust. Anyways, left side here we have 2 power here. These are USB 4 capable, so good for running like docs and data and that kind of stuff. Video out, fast enclosures, expanding your ports, turning this thing into a desktop. You can do that over here. Right side we have an SD card reader, a micro SD card reader, and a USB-A. That's crazy to have that, because I mean everything's being USB-C these days. That's fantastic. This thing connects with USB-A, this controller, if you want to use this externally, but I also hook up stuff like dongles and that kind of stuff, and USBs and all that kind of stuff. It's important to have those, right? Very nice. Now, of course, it is a very glossy screen. You can see there's fingerprints because I've been messing with it. I do have a screen protector on this. There is actually a screen protector that comes with it. It comes with a plastic film to prevent from scratches. It won't protect from impacts, but it will protect from scratches. It comes with that installed. I just picked this up off Amazon. It was like some generic $10 thing. I guess I could put a link to it. I actually have a better screen protector coming. I had to import it. It was not really much more expensive, but it's going to take time. And I went with like this is a full gloss, which emulates the original screen. The one that I picked up is like silk. It's not a matte screen by any means, but it's just like one step down, just slightly reduces the reflections. So there you go. Anyways, top here we do have our audio being hidden, just to help with, not getting the port damaged, I suppose, and just making it nice. That there. Volume up, volume down. These are reversed for some reason. I guess it's an Eastern handheld, so I don't know, maybe they prefer to be reversed, but that's volume down, volume up. Sorry, volume up, volume down, a little weird. Power, exhaust there for your cooling. Comes in here, the air goes into the back, comes out the top there, the exhaust is there, and that's your turbo button. The turbo button doesn't do turbo, it actually brings up the OneXPlayer console. So I don't know why they call it turbo, whatever. On the back here, this is also redesigned. The X1 Pro was not as nice as this. Is more like the X1 Air, which is the Intel one. This is much more premium. It's this dark gunmetal. We do have our intakes here, fans, that kind of stuff. Cooling, these are glass. You'll have to take those off to open it up. If you don't want to open it up, don't worry about it, but those are glass. So when you take this off to get inside, you have to be careful. I would actually recommend using a heat gun, not a heat gun, just a hairdryer to warm up that glue, and then you can just use a blade and get it off. This is also massively improved. This hinge feels way better this year. It feels fantastic, actually. It feels very resistive, but not in a bad way. Like it goes to the spot you want it to and it stops. And it's smooth. So that is a huge improvement. And again, I have confirmed that with other users who have this, who have had the previous generation. Very nice. Now, on the ports side of it, I do want to point out one other thing. So the ports can be partially covered. This is an SD card, so you're going to put that in there. It doesn't matter if it's covered, but you'd have to take off the controller to release it. We can see here with an USB-A dongle plugged in, I still have full access to that to even take it out and put it back in. See? Left side though, we have USB-A, USB-A. Let's just plug in one USB-A. Top one, it won't be a problem. It's even smaller. No problem. Bottom one, however, it is physically covered. Right? It's physically covered. So the bottom one, when you do have the keyboard, you have the controller attached, it is covered. There is clear, like it's not physically covering the port, but the button here sticks out too far. So I would like to see next year, I don't know how they would do this. There's just nowhere to put it, but I don't know. What could they do to improve? Where could they put it? I guess like they'd have to put it up here, but then it's the cooling. I don't know. There's just nowhere to put it. Like that's the speaker down there. I actually don't know how they could have both of those uncovered at the same time. Like, I guess if the turbo button, I guess they could move the turbo button, like put the turbo button somewhere else. I don't know. Like I really don't know how they could do that, because then I want to have that open so that there's one open here, and then that one is like over here or something. But like I'm just talking about physically, where were they wired up based on the internals? There's not really going to put it. I don't know. Maybe they can't. Like, I mean, they're engineering these things. It's not like that's not an oversight of they're like, well, I guess whatever, we forgot about that. It's just they're like, where do we put the damn thing? So I don't know. Yeah, anyways, it would be nice if they could do it, but maybe there's just nowhere to put it. So it's a pipe dream, potentially. Like the engineers are probably just like, yeah, that's wonderful. Give us a solution to where to put that, but that's that there. Now, it's not actually that hard to get into. You can see there's no screws or anything around here. There is a set of screws under here. These are going to have to come off. This is going to have to come off, this strip here. Just a sticker. And there's the screws under there. And on the top here you can see nada. Okay, so that's all good, no problems. Now, what makes this difficult? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one's like a warranty sticker. Again, you shouldn't be doing this if you're not comfortable. But this glass has to come off. These are glass here, and they're glued down, and it's very easy to break these. So the tools you're going to be requiring, obviously, is a screwdriver to get inside, a screwdriver set, a blade, sharp blade, so be careful, and a hairdryer or a heat gun, probably a hairdryer because heat gun will get too hot. You just want to heat up that glue just a little bit. And it's not glue, it's like that sticky kind of, I don't know how to describe that stuff. It's double-sided slime. I'm not sure if that's enough. It's been a while since I did one of these. Now, you're going to want to find a lip along here. I'm going to probably pull this towards me, but there's like a gap there, and there's a gap up here. And you're just going to want to, don't do it at the tip here because you will crack that. You want to come down a little bit further. And just sort of work it out. Again, see how I separated it there now? See that? Because I heated it, it's a little bit more willing to. So I just very gently got that up there. Now you can see here, I'm not prying this up because it will crack the glass. It absolutely, if you just pull that up, it's going to snap the glass. It's a thin little piece of glass. But you can see it's actually, I'm not doing, there's no force here. This is no force. You can see that goop coming out of there? I'm just releasing that goop. And by heating it, it became much softer. Very easy to kind of manipulate. So then now, I can do this without cracking the glass. Or lowering the chance of it. Very gentle. Very, very, very gentle. See that there's 2 screws there, 1 and 2. I'm going to actually just remove this right off of here. Also be gentle, you don't want to break it here either. Now the blade was never really like, it wasn't cutting, it was just separating. See that? And it's just got that gooey stuff. So it'll be easy to put back on, but there's just like goo. I kind of wish they would make these plastic. I mean, it's nice. They don't really want you to get inside, to be honest, because they don't want you to break things and then be like, it was always broken. Free, like free willing. Okay, so now it's easy. Now we just take it apart. Again, I can't exactly recommend that you do this. I'm just doing it to show you what's inside. You know, unless they changed it, there will be another set under here. And this is just a vinyl sticker. Now I'm pulling gently here because you don't want to stretch it. It's vinyl, it will stretch. I'll leave this in even if this is wrong, so you can know to not do it. But I think this is right. It's been a long time since I opened up one of these. Okay, so that just sits there now. And the reason I think I had to open that is I think this is going to slide through there. All right. Take your time. And there we go. It's actually very easy to do, other than the one step, that's gooey now, other than the one step that was the little glass panels. Be very careful with that. Okay, so we can see here, the back plate is now metal, or it always was metal, I guess. It is metal. There's some structural stuff here. What are those for? Oh, it's the LEDs. So there's the LEDs there. Very good. Mesh over that. That sits on the NVMe, potentially. Maybe. Yes, it sits on the NVMe to keep it cool because this is a big metal heat sink. Very good. And there's a look inside. So inside is very straightforward. Not really seeing any difference from the previous generations really at all. We do have a 2280 size NVMe. It's Acer branded. In this case, it's Predator, Acer Predator. But it is an Acer drive. I got lots of stuff with Acer and it's totally fine. Speakers there are firing out and out. Very good. Battery here, we already know the battery size for the spec, 65 watt hours, just fine. It would be easy to replace down the road if need be. Wi-Fi is soldered, so you're not upgrading that. Disconnect the battery if you ever need to change anything. And the heat sink looks pretty good. We do have one fairly large fan, like the actual surface area of that is large. That's why this thing is pretty quiet. I mean, because larger the fan, the slower it has to spin to produce the same amount of air movement, meaning this doesn't have to spin as fast. And then we actually have 2 pretty big heat pipes. So thicker heat pipe, thinner heat pipe. pretty standard. Like if you got like a laptop with one of these Panther-like chips, it would have a very similar internal in terms of that cooling. So it looks good. Not much you're upgrading. I mean, you're taking it out, you're potentially swapping the NVMe. That's it. So if you want to upgrade it, that's how you do it. I would not necessarily take off the thermal compound here to see what's under. I'm going to, because that's what I do. But I'm assuming they use PTM. But let's find out. Okay, disconnect the battery so I don't fry something by accident. I'm not seeing any, that's not what I want. I'm not seeing any other connectors here. That comes off. Heat pipe, I don't think is attached to that. Maybe it is, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to take out. Now, you're not doing this. There's no reason to do this. There's absolutely no reason to do this. For you. There's no reason for you to do this. For me, I'm doing it because this is science, but you do not need to take off your cooling solution. Just don't do it. You can already tell just by that click. I've already done the whole video, by the way. So the whole video testing this and seeing how the thermals were, already complete. So any difference here in thermals would be irrelevant because I've already done the video. Might actually be underneath the NVMe. It is possible. There's a little bit of a tray under the NVMe. There is, see? So if you ever take something apart, like I'm doing right now, I'm doing this blind. Anytime you feel something not giving, don't pull. Don't pull harder, put it that way. Because that's typically the wrong thing to do. There might even be something over here. Yep, there was one more, see? That had to come out. Just take your time if you ever decide to do this, which you should not. And there you go. It's PTM 7950. Completely redundant for me to take this off in terms of personal use. That is PTM. PTM, you can tell that it's dried. Yeah, it's a PTM type material. I'm going to have to replace it. You can't put PTM back on because it changes its consistency. But that is a PTM type material there. That's not a paste. So I'm going to swap this on. You don't need to do that. Put it back together, and there you go. That's the internals. All right, let's set up some workflow type scenarios here to kind of emphasize the fact that it's a 3-in-1. Wouldn't do this with every handheld, but this is such a unique and diverse functioning product that you might do that. So you go about your day, you're traveling like on a plane, train, car, or you're going to class, you're going to work, whatever. This is your carry if you want everything, right? That's that there. Maybe you want the controller, maybe you don't. So that's an optional carry with you. Optionally mouse as well. That could be something you carry with you. But this is your primary device here. Right, you unzip that here. You take that out. Well, the ribbon should go under. Flip that open. And all of a sudden you have your device here, right? The keyboard does protect the screen. It keeps it asleep and also protects the screen from scratches. I would still bring the carry pad because I don't want to scratch the back of it. This is a very nice looking device and it feels fantastic. I would want to protect it. These are glass here, so I wouldn't want impacts on it. So I would bring the case. These things, you can put those back on optionally. I used the X1 Pro for a year and I never put those things back on. I think I lost them immediately upon having that device. So your choice, just be careful. Be gentle with your devices. Anyways, so you come here and you set up. Right, so now all of a sudden I'm in a tablet mode. Well, that's tablet mode. So this is just a tablet, I'm just watching shows, whatever. That's fine. This is magnetized in there and all of a sudden now I have a laptop type device or a tablet type with a keyboard. This is we'll get into it later, but the keyboard and trackpad here is quite nice, very robust, so it feels good to do work here. One thing to note here is that the size is actually good. This is a gigantic tablet, obviously, right? We're looking at a tablet here that is pretty standard, like tablet size, like an iPad Air type size, but for handheld, it's massive, right? So this is actually a pretty good setup right here. Like here, you know, if I'm using it like this and I'm doing work, it's fine. I don't have any problem seeing it. I have pretty good vision. I don't have 20/20, but it's good enough that I don't need glasses that are ranged like this or anything like that, like not even close. Totally fine. No blur for me. Of course, if you wear glasses, then wear them. But that's just a standpoint here. Like I don't even have perfect vision. Like I have, my prescription is about 1. So for me, right, like things like that, I mean, okay, I can still see it, but it's a pretty big tablet. The point here is that it's a pretty big tablet. So then you come in here and you do your work. I could easily do video editing and that kind of stuff on it. And I have done that on this tablet. Because it's 1600p, it's not 1200p, everything scales down, so it's small in terms of the interface. There's not big bezels and that kind of stuff, and you can scale it how you need, but you could easily do your work. You could do all of your work, all of your business type stuff, your school work, professional, whatever, on this. Obviously, it's very powerful. This is a very powerful CPU. It's also extremely efficient with a very powerful iGPU, so there's no compromises there in terms of performance. None. Zero compromises in terms of performance as a laptop. right? This is more powerful than my laptop. My primary laptop that I'm using right now, this is more powerful. So this is an upgrade. Anyway, so then you could do your work like that, no problems. We'll get into the mouse and keyboard and that kind of stuff, it's fine. So this is a very nice experience. I have no problems here, right? This is optional. You can, if you're playing games, like if you're playing, I don't know, Civilization, right? You could probably get by with that because it's a turn-based strategy. If you're playing real-time strategy, StarCraft or something like that, or Age of Empires, you're gonna wanna probably use a mouse, unless you're really good with a trackpad. I'm not, so I would use a mouse and keyboard, right? And you can play shooters, Call of Duty, that kind of stuff. No problems here. This is gonna be fantastic. And the keyboard is nice enough to do that, just so you know. Okay, so then you're getting into game mode, right? There's a couple ways you could go here. So this is optional. The controllers are mandated. These come with it. There's no optional there, but this is an optional accessory. This is the controller connector, so we'll do that in a sec. But here, right, you come in, you snap this on here, right, snap those in. You can leave this on here. Most of the time if I'm gaming at like a desk or something, I actually leave the keyboard on because the games that I play actually kind of work well having both, as weird as that sounds. You know, going in the menus, that kind of stuff. I'm just weird. It's just kind of nice to have that, but totally optional. You can just take it off, right? You can game like this, and this thing's big enough that you can actually set it down and game like that, and it feels nice, but it's not heavy. It's not a light handheld. Like it's not like this thing weighs like 30 grams or something like that, but it's also not super heavy because it is a tablet. It's not that heavy. These controllers are not heavy at all. So this is not a heavy wield, right? Like I can hold this, especially if my arms are rested, indefinitely, technically. I can hold it indefinitely like that. And there's no problems there whatsoever. So that's going to be your gaming mode, whatever, that kind of thing. But the other thing is, of course, if you get these, this is cheap, so I recommend getting it. It's not expensive, just a heads up. And then you come in here and you hook this in, makes it straight side up, hook that into the little control-y thing here. And this turns this now into an actual controller, right? So now you have the actual controller. And now, because it's in tablet mode, whether the keyboard is attached or not, right? This sits in front of me and I can sit back and game more casually, right? Or on my couch, like we'll see later, this could be sitting potato on the belly, that kind of stuff, and you're gaming, right? It feels fantastic. Pretty sweet. So I would recommend this. This is not very expensive. Add this on. I bought this off of the OneXPlayer store directly. Yeah, I buy things. Isn't that funny? I'm that kind of YouTuber. Bought this off of the OneXPlayer direct website. And I think it was like, it recommended it in the basket or whatever, but it's on there. I would highly recommend it because it really does make this thing much more versatile. Now let's go sit on my potato couch mode. Okay, and now we're gonna go for the more ergo type setup. Ergo in terms of, I wanna sit like a potato. Okay, so I have a Legion Go here, which is just, you know, your more traditional handheld there, just to give some context. And this is a couch. As you can see, this is a couch. So, a couple ways you could do it. You come in here, you sit down. You're gonna be in vert mode. This is what I call vert mode. We could use it like that, and I could just set this on my lap, like so, and I'm gaming. Totally fine, totally fine. And this goes pretty far back. Feels ergonomic enough. But generally speaking, the bread and butter is this for gaming. Now it is a big handheld, but it's not heavy, right? So especially because my arms are now, like there's a leverage point here, right? The weight is actually like that. That's where the weight goes. And I suppose my biceps are strong enough to hold this up. And I think most people are gonna have problems. Obviously if you have like a neurological issue or muscular or something, or an injury or something like that, yeah, it would be a little harder, but then you just recline. But anyway, so that's that. That doesn't bother me. Like I can hold this, I mean, I do hold it for hours like this here. And it's a big screen. So here's the thing. Often with a smaller screen, this is not a small screen, it's an 8-inch, but say it was an ROG Ally. The ROG Ally is like a small handheld, so you're typically like bringing it to your face to game because it's such a small screen. This is a Legion Go. I would still typically have my Legion Go pretty close. Like this is pretty close to my face, right? Because it's a smaller handheld, right? Smaller screen, sorry. This is a giant screen, so I don't want it to be like that. Like now my entire periphery is like screen. I mean, it's immersive, I guess, but typically with this, I'm actually more comfortable having this further away. Like this is further away from me now, so I can relax a little bit, and it still feels good, okay? We'll go potato in a second too, because I'm all about that potato gaming. Tablet, right, like this here for doing this type of setup. There's not really a big difference between a laptop. A laptop would maybe sit a little bit further back and slightly higher if it's because it's generally a bigger device, but this is fine, right? Now be aware you do have this thing here that sits there, so it's not a flat surface, like a laptop would be flat here. See what I'm saying? And all the way would be distributed. Here you have 0.1, and point to where this device is actually sitting. This is just a floppy thing. So the device is actually sitting there. So right now the device is sitting on my legs in here. Not that it hurts or anything. It's not bad. It doesn't weigh anything. But I'm just saying that's where the weight is. So partial potato is like this. Typically go like that, leg out, whatever. No problems. Brace it on your legs, no problem. It's fine. And then you come over here, hook these on. Now we're getting into like real serious type setup for like full immersive gaming. Keyboard comes off, your choice. And again, now I'm resting on the couch, like on the ground, right? So there's literally no weight now. Like that, yeah, I guess there's some, but not really. Typically here now, there's no weight anymore, right? This is just, other than my hands holding it. My hands are physically holding it. All of the weight is going down into the arm. And like sub 1K is not going to be like, oh, my elbows hurt. Like it doesn't weigh anything. So then that there, now you have this thing and it's this massively ergonomic setup. And even more important, it's this massively immersive screen. Huge screen right in front of my face. Here, fine. Here, that's pretty big, but you could do it. Whereas something like this, right? I don't typically game like that. It's too far for me. I want it to be up here. I want to be able to read it properly and I want to be in it. Like it's just the immersion too. Like the screen, how much your peripheral vision is taken up by the screen. It's immersive. Like I could game like that, but that doesn't feel immersive because there's all this crap around it. So I'm going to be bringing this in close. Typically, I'm actually unlocking my elbows and they're now floating. So I'm gaming like this. So now I actually am holding this device and my shoulders, right? Whereas this is so massive that I'm here and there's no pressure anymore because it's such a big screen. I'm fine with this thing being far away. Okay, now we'll go 100% maximum potato. Okay, I guess the only way that we would be inverted. But now, this is how I game most of the time, right? I'm fully relaxed now. This is just a vertical pillar. We have almost a 90-degree angle, zero strain on the shoulders and anything like that. All the weight is here. You have this television in front of you, but it's not too big, right? It's not like the Z13, like people use the Asus Z13 with controllers, and it would be like an IMAX screen with your face on it, like you're in the front row of the theater. That's not like this. This is like you have that perfect like row 5 seat. It's right there, dead center, perfect. Ergonomically feels fantastic, right? This feels awesome, and this is how I game all the time. With a smaller handheld, it's okay because I'm now bringing it like fully right up here. But with this here, again, I can have it up here for super immersion, or I can bring it back slightly. I now have that because it's such a big screen. Okay, and the last thing I suppose would be, you detach these with this type of posture, like garbage posture, which is what I want. We can unlock something like this. If you go real far down, now you can unlock this, right? Like that, or like that, or like that, or you can bring it straight up. Yeah, I do this sometimes. This is just filth, like the chin is out, right? And you're just like, your whole airway is just constricted. There's no airflow, but it's just so good, right? And you're just gaming like this, just 2 a.m. filth gaming. It's so good, right? And of course, then also if you want to be productive or do mouse and keyboard type gaming, or you want to be more productive, this is decent, right? Like it feels fine. So the ergonomics of this thing are sick. So now let's compare it to some other devices. So there you go. So you have this big giant handheld. The ergo stuff we've already talked about, or I will talk about depending on how I format this video. It's just a giant screen. Hold it like that, no problems. Of course, you can also set it up like so. Coming over here, we'll get this out of here now because we're talking about keyboards, that kind of stuff. So we're going to bring in some well-known devices. Here's an ROG Ally. This is the lower ROG Ally Xbox. This is a very ergonomic. I don't like this handheld in terms of performance. It's okay, I guess. And I don't like the screen at all, but the ergonomics on it is quite good. You have these little, like, I don't know, tails or something, and you can hold on to that. And then these are nice and tight here. Feels nice and ergonomic. Just a well ergo designed handheld. I wish the screen was massively bigger without these huge bezels, but the ergonomics are good on the handheld. This is a Legion Go S naked. I have a skin for it too, but it's naked. This also feels quite ergonomic. Not quite as much as the Ally, but still pretty ergonomic. It has that nice design there. I have no complaints about this at all. This is a good ergo feeling handheld. No problems. Right? We'll get into the controllers in a sec. This is a Switch. Now the Switch has terrible ergonomics. It's a pancake, right? Without this controller onto it, this controller hook here, this thing is like a pancake. It does not feel good to hold a Nintendo Switch naked. It's literally, it's like gaming on like this, like an iPad. Like it does not feel good. Like your hands are just like blah, 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 on a stock Switch 2. So you're pretty much always getting like a thingy, whatever these are called, case. This is a D-brand kill switch. I don't have affiliate links to kill switch. Whatever. It's a D-brand thing. There you go. So that feels fine. I mean, It's a 8-inch screen finally this year, so that feels fine. And the ergos are okay, I guess, with the case. Without it, it's terrible, but that's fine. Right, no problems there. This one here is kind of the complete opposite. It has like the best ergonomics, probably the best ergonomics, but the screen is tiny, which is kind of dumb. But that feels like that there. And then, you know, again, you come to something like this, you may think it doesn't, but this is basically an Xbox controller, right? Like the design of this is essentially an Xbox controller. See that? That's an Xbox controller. It's pretty close. Like that being slightly below versus over there, there's just nowhere to put it. But you can see there, it feels like an Xbox controller. Maybe not quite as far out, but the general design mimics the Xbox controller, which I'm sorry, Sony fans, I use Sony. I've always owned a Sony device, multiple of them, basically from the beginning. And their controllers are not as nice as Xbox controllers. I'm sorry, they just aren't. So that's good. So it mimics an Xbox controller, and that's why all these Windows devices do that as well. Very good. Okay, now the buttons. Now, this does have swappable buttons. Where did I put that? It's around here somewhere. This actually comes off, and it does come with a standard D-pad. Like you actually get a D-pad style one. So you get your standard D-pad, and you get the the floaty Xbox style one, traditional D-pad. That's your choice, honestly. I don't technically have a preference. I guess maybe these days I would lean towards the Xbox kind of floaty thing. I guess it's fine. Anyway, so this is a very clicky. Like you can hear it actually has a click for each thing. I like that a lot, actually. I very much like it when they have a click. Like there's actually like a button, a capacitive click button under there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. This is very much what I prefer. We'll come in here. There's nothing wrong with this, but this is just a floaty little... It's not even in the same class. Like this is infinitely better in my opinion. This is fine. This is basically the same. There's no difference here. Just a floaty thing. This is infinitely better. When you buy aftermarket controllers, like expensive aftermarket controllers, they typically have this. This is way better than this. Sorry. Especially like that doesn't feel good at all, to be honest. And of course the Switch is like a joke, but it's meant to be like, you could attach this and it turns into like a little, well, it turns into a little controller. So these are like buttons, but obviously the D-pad is trash on a Nintendo Switch as a result, because it's technically like, it's its own controller, right? Like you're meant to be like, do-do-do, like that kind of thing. So it's meant to be its own controller, but it does not feel good as a result. It feels quite bad, actually. So this is by far the best D-pad. The analog sticks are a little loose on here. They don't feel bad, and you're not gonna have like drift and that kind of stuff, but they don't feel great either. They're very loose. I don't have a problem with it. Like I played for very long times, but if you are prone to preferring a higher tension on them, they are quite light. Over here, this is kind of in the middle. Still fairly light, but less light. It's kind of right in the middle. The Ally is actually the highest tension. These are actually quite resistive over here. I don't know what I think. Maybe I prefer the Ally. I think, but I don't know. Maybe it's just like, I don't know. Maybe not. Like if you're just doing gentle motions, it's probably easier to get a little bit more control over that. Maybe, I don't know. Whereas this one, like it goes pretty easy. So maybe I prefer the Ally. I think the Ally is better for that. I don't know. And then these are, the old school, like these are also very loose, just little floppy little things. They might actually be tight. I can't really tell, but they're just so low travel that it's hard to compare. And they're fine. I mean, they're all fine. Honestly, I have no problems with them. This is just probably the lightest of all of them. Just be aware of that. Okay. Now these buttons here, we can see we have start and select. I don't know what they're called in Windows, but they're start and select buttons. So start and select up top there. Start and select. This is below. This one's kind of dumb. Start and select. So that always confuses me. I was just testing the Ally like yesterday, and these being inversed really confused me. I was like, they're down here, and I kept like bringing up the menu, so that kind of is irritating. And then same thing over here. Start and select. So it's a little weird that those are up there. I would prefer if like all of these had the buttons, so where like the start and select were here, and these menu buttons were down here. I much prefer that, but at least with OneXPlayer, they're on the top. Start select is on the top, and then these are the menu buttons. I hugely prefer that, despite the fact that, again, I would prefer if these two buttons were down here, here. There's not a lot of places to put it here, I guess, because these are detachable controllers, but at least they're on top, so that's fine. These face buttons feel fine. These are very standard. Like that's a very standard button. I don't know. I don't have a preference. They don't feel the same, but I don't have a preference. Maybe this is the best. I don't know. They're basically the same. I would say it's this tied with these two over here. Doesn't make a difference. Shoulder buttons. Nice click. Nice click. Such an aggressive click. I kind of don't like, I do like aggressive clicks. So this one's like a little much. So, you know, that's good and that's good. I kind of prefer them. These are like hidden. So I think this probably wins alongside the Ally. The analog triggers feel fantastic. Very high tension on these. That feels great. Almost identical. This wins by default because it has adaptive. So nice tension on that, feels great. And then you actually have, like, you can go hair triggers. But I mean, the actual feeling in the analog feels exactly the same. So tie. And these are buttons. They're not analog, right? There's no, it's just button on, button off versus this analog. Yep, so I suppose they're all good. It doesn't really matter. Now there's back buttons here too. Let's close that up. These release the controllers, and these back buttons here, they feel fine, and they're in a good location. They're under my middle fingers, and they're easy to actuate, and they're in a good spot. Perfect, no problems. This one here, same thing. Middle fingers, they feel exactly the same. This one here, they're a little bit further out, so it's a little bit harder to get to, but it's not a big deal. Normally, where my hands sit, I would want them to be there, but they're not a problem. They're just slightly out there. And then there are none. Okay, so that's the buttons, all that kind of stuff. It feels fine. It feels great. Like, it feels like an Xbox controller. The only critique I would have so far on all of these devices is I wish that those buttons were down further. But this is doing it the best of all the ones here because at least the start and select buttons are on the top and the menu buttons are below that. So I don't ever have problems hitting those. I just, when I gravitate up, my hands go up here and start and select. I never accidentally hit these when I need to, like, pause the game. So the only, like, true critique is I would like these to be slightly heavier, just ever so slightly heavier. I'm not sure like what percentage and how that would work, but they don't necessarily have to be as heavy as the Ally. But I would probably like them to be as heavy as the Legion Go here, which is a good middle ground. Light, heavy, medium. So your choice. But it's not a problem. It wouldn't, in no way does it deter me. Just be aware of that. So that's the Ergos there. Feels very nice. Okay, now what about, so that's the handhelds. We're going to put these up here. What about now some laptops and tablets and that kind of stuff? Because it's a 3-in-1. It isn't just a handheld. It's also like a 3-in-1. iPad mini. So you can see it's obviously a lot bigger screen than an iPad mini. Similar to an iPad Air. Generally speaking, quite similar to an iPad Air. Here is an iPad Air for comparison. Just close it up. It's not my iPad Air, it's my partner's. So iPad Air, basically the same, right? A little like taller than that because of aspect ratio, but iPad Air, same idea. So we're looking at around iPad Air size, a little bit bigger than an iPad mini, obviously. That's that there. Now, what about a small laptop? So here's a Surface laptop. So this is a small laptop, right? So we can see that that's a 13-inch, around 12.5-inch laptop. It looks much bigger, but you can see here, I mean, this is obviously going to be a lot smaller. This one depends on what I'm setting up, right? Some cases, this one is actually a little bit too big, where, you know, if I want something that's quite small, very portable, this one can be a little bit too big. And this is a very small laptop, just so you know. So this is something I'd throw in a bag or something like that. Very, very, very small. 12.5 inches on the smaller side. This is obviously going to be smaller by a fair bit. There's also the advantage of this is a low resolution screen. This is an extremely high resolution screen. This is like, yeah, I can't remember actually. This is quite low resolution for the size. Yeah, 10. It's not even 1080p. It's below 1080p. So it's lower resolution. This is very fine resolution here. So you can see like the scaling, all that kind of stuff. I could scale this down if I needed and have more room. You could do a little bit here, but this is obviously like pixel, not dense, that kind of stuff. But you can see here, I mean, we're in the same kind of discussion here as a, you know, iPad plus keyboard, or, you know, a small Windows laptop, like a really small Windows laptop, something like that. iPad plus keyboard, that kind of zone is what we're looking at there. Like this here. And then we have, you know, the keyboard, that kind of stuff. It's basically exactly the same. So if you've ever seen people use an iPad with a keyboard, which a lot of people do, it's almost the identical footprint to that. Now, one of the nice things about this here is I can do something like this, right? I can take a USB-C or a USB-A dongle, and I can plug that in there. Now, normally I'd be using that here, but for recording purposes, I need to sit really far back so you guys can actually see, so I can actually see what's going on, right? And now all of a sudden I have that hooked up. So I don't always want to use Bluetooth, don't always have Bluetooth. This allows me to do something like that, which is just quite good for recording, to be honest. It allows me to sit back further and do that kind of stuff there. All right, very nice. Very good. So let's actually get into some typing here now. Get into some keyboard, mouse, that kind of stuff. So we'll come in here and we'll go with Notepad. Now, another thing that has improved massively this year is actually the keyboard. And again, it's not just me. I had it confirmed with the other person on Discord who also has the X1. I can't remember if they have the Air or the Pro, but whatever. They have the same keyboard. This has improved. It's hard to describe why. First of all, the natural scrolling is proper, whereas last year it was weird. So you can see here the natural scrolling is not inversed here. It's exactly as every other device, so that feels good. Very nice. The actual key switches, despite the fact that they are, the key caps are, not the largest keycap and not the thickest keyboard, like it's like a little tablet keyboard, we have pretty large keycaps overall, generally speaking, and they have a lot of travel. There's actually a lot of travel there. Like a lot of travel. That's very impressive. They did a good job with, I'm not sure what they tweaked, and it's not like I only had one of these. I've had a few models with this keyboard, and it is noticeably improved. It's not like this is a new one, those were used. Like when I got the Air, like not like a few months ago, I was like, no, this is better. This feels better. It's a snappier keyboard. Of course, you do have lights as well, right? You can see there you have your backlighting. Multiple stages. Very nice. If you need that, if you're gaming at dark. You also have your WASD highlighted out. So again, if you're gaming, right, it's very easy to see. Even in a dark room, it'll be very easy to locate immediately, especially the backlighting. Backlighting doesn't shine through the keys, but it's enough to find your keys. And then that literally stands out, so it's easy to find. Function keys embedded up here. So, by default, right, we have those working as function keys. And then you can go like that, brightness up, brightness down, that kind of stuff there. Volume up, volume down, of course, right? Volume up, volume down. You also, you have volume over here too, if need be. And of course, you do have the console, so you can also do you can do brightness up and down from here, right? And volume as well. So you can come in here and do that. When you have the controllers, if you don't want to press that and you don't want to use the keyboard, you can use the console up there. So you have multiple ways to input into the device. The spacing of this feels very natural, right? It is a small physical device in terms of like keyboard type of thing, but it doesn't feel like a small keyboard. It doesn't feel like a compromised keyboard, right? It's like, here's a small laptop, right? 12.4 inch laptop, 12.4 inch screen. It's physically a small laptop, and it's actually a higher aspect ratio here, so it's actually narrower that way than you might think. And even so, this doesn't feel like this is a full-sized, completely 100% full size. And there are some minor changes here. Like we do have, the comma button is slightly smaller. The enter key is slightly shrunk. These here are slightly shrunk that way, just ever so. Same over here. But as a result, you still have very large key caps. Like these are large. It doesn't feel like I'm typing on a little like a tiny little weasel keyboard, like meow, 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 meow. This is like you actually could type up an essay on this, right? And we'll do that right now. Not an essay, but we'll type. Yeah, it's excellent keyboard, right? Again, it's not going to beat out like the best of the best, like true laptop keyboards, that kind of stuff. Cherry MX physical keycaps on a mechanical keyboard. For most people, I actually would prefer this to a mechanical keyboard. This is just how I like to type. This is way better than a Mac keyboard, way better. Like this is a MacBook keyboard here, right? Very minimal travel, like none. You can get used to it and get like better at typing on a Mac. But I mean, it's not even close, right? This is a way better keyboard than a Mac. And yeah, it's slightly shrunk down, but even so, I'd take this any day of the week and all days of the week over a MacBook keyboard. It's not even comparable. It's just a way better keyboard. Now, the trackpad is physically small. It's enough here that, you can do the full screen up and down. You can see that there, full coverage. And let's go in the middle there. More than enough to do left and right. See that? So it's pretty good. This also feels improved. Not only the scrolling, but the click feels improved this year. Even like floating, it feels good. So I would say at baseline, this is a very nice input. The input to the keyboard, trackpad is quite nice. And of course, then lastly, you do have touch, right? And the touch feels responsive, right? Awesome, because, you know, if you're in tablet mode, you pull that out, it's going to be good. If you're in game mode, you go like that right there. There still are advantages to be in touch. Okay, so now let's get into the screen and audio, and then we'll do some performance testing. Like benchmark is like a computer, like a laptop. This will be partially like almost like a laptop review for my watching my laptop reviews, not just a handheld, because it is also a 3-in-1. And then we will do obviously gaming. Obviously, that's why we're all here. Now, first, I mean, obviously there's the screen size type of thing. So we'll come in here and we can do these screen sizes. Well, then we can talk about the screen tech. Now, this is not an OLED, it is an IPS, so it does not have absolute blacks. Last night, some of the people on the Discord, they were asking about OLED versus non-OLED, and I recorded some OLED versus non-OLED footage, so I'll just splice that in. It's just an OLED laptop, so we'll do that there. So what we have here is a very, very good screen. We have 10.95 inch, so 11 inch. It's quite large. 16 by 9, so 16 by 10 aspect ratio instead of 16 by 9. That's nice. We also do have very fine resolution and very good specs. So we come over here, come in here. So we have 1600p, which is very fine. It's also a lot of pixels for gaming, but this is a 3-in-1, right, as well. We do have high refresh, 120 hertz. Very good. So generally speaking, it's quite nice. This is a very, very, very good screen on paper. And in person, it's obviously quite nice. It's a high color space, 100% DCI-P3 color space, which means you're going to have very good colors, vibrancy, sharpness, that kind of stuff. Now, it is not an OLED, so you don't have OLED blacks, but that's the one thing you have to be aware of. You're not going to get OLED blacks. Now, we compare that, for example, to the Ally. The Ally is a 16 by 10, so it's actually shrunk, 16 by 9, so it's actually shrunk down, and it's only 7 inch. So, like, it's not even close, right? It's such a bigger screen than something like the ROG Ally. Hugely different screen. And this is like, you can see here, even with like, I have SteamOS installed, and like the desktop side of this thing is tiny, but even in games, this can be like really small, like a 7 inch. Now 7 inch isn't necessarily by default bad. Like even OneXPlayer, they have the F1 Fly, the 7 inch handheld. I had that, I bought it, and it was great because the actual physical handheld was much smaller than this. Like the whole handheld was like this big. Significantly smaller, so it actually felt okay to have 7 inch because it was a portable device. This one is like a big handheld with a tiny screen. Here's the middle ground. Now I don't have the 8.8 inch ones like the OneXPlayer 3 and the OneXPlayer X2 Mini Pro. I have bought them with my money and they will come, but it's like it's like still the beginning of the second week of July. They're going to ship in August, or I think late July and early August, so I'm not going to have them for a bit. But we can see here this is an 8 inch screen now, also significantly bigger than an 8 inch screen. 8 inch looks more in line with, like, it's not hugely different versus that little 7 inch Peasley thing, but it's still quite a bit bigger. And of course, if you have the bigger ones, the 8.8 inch, you're going to have a little bit larger screen like out here. So we can see that here. But even here, like this is an 8 inch, and the text is starting to become a little small. Like the icons are starting to get a little small. 8.8 inch, a little bit bigger. Not too bad. Over here, I mean, 7 inch, it's like getting actually legitimately very small. Like even with like pushing these things would become, like it becomes difficult after a while, right? 8 inch is not as bad. 8.8 inch is not as bad as that. It's easier to get in here and press some kind of stuff, like a little bit easier, right? But then over here, of course, this is a big screen, right? So even if you're doing touch stuff, like it's physically a large screen. For a touchscreen device, it's the same as an iPad Air. It's a big screen. So that's nice. Now, another thing to point out here is, you know, this is an IPS screen, this is an IPS, this is an IPS screen. Let's come in here, we'll look at this IPS screen. We'll compare it to an OLED because there's one primary advantage of an OLED, and that's absolute black. So you can see here, this is not an absolute black. It's like a very, 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 very dark gray, or light black, I guess I would call it. But the other thing is here we do have incredibly good colors, right? Color space, color space, color space. Again, I was talking with the people on Discord trying to explain this last night. If you know me personally, you know that I also work in like cartography, remote sensing. So image, color, this kind of stuff, this is like my specialty. It's weird like that I do YouTube, but this is like kind of my bread and butter, one of my subspecialties. So I'm obviously going to get into the tech stuff. This may not show up well on camera, but this here in my hand is a 100% sRGB screen. So this is actually not as capable of pushing into the red color space. And you may see it on camera. It's worse in person, but it has a little bit of a pinkish tone, a little bit of an orangey tone to it. It's a little bit washed out, slightly towards the salmon here. Now in doing work, I don't have a problem with sRGB screens at all. I'm never going to complain. But in gaming, of course it's a problem because you're not able to show those super vibrant royal reds. That's one of the primary areas you see it. And you can see over here, look at how much vibrant that screen is here, right? These are both IPS screens, but this is now 100% DCI-P3 versus 100% sRGB. This is pushing further into the color space, allowing it to portray this incredibly vibrant royal red, very rich red here, right? Another place that you do see this is when you get into greens. Now, not as much, but there is still some muting of greens. So here's an example here, right? So this is, again, sRGB. We'll just go a little bit further here into the same like kind of farm scene. I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but these greens look fine. They look fine, right? Totally natural, no problems with it. Blues are obviously good, but the greens are, good. Like, it's pretty good. Especially for, like, if you're using this as like a laptop type screen, just doing work kind of stuff, it would be nice. But look at how much vibrant that DCI-P3 is there, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's more accurate or anything like that. What I'm saying is it's more vibrant. So you have way more vibrant reds and way more vibrant greens. When you're playing games, that makes a huge difference because over here, you end up with like a pretty mudded, diluted green. The reds are not going to pop off the screen. Here, you have these colors just popping off the screen right in your eyes, just blasting your eyes with color. When you're playing vibrant video games, and I like color and I like vibrant video games, it just feels so much more vibrant, immersive, and enjoyable on this. And content consumption, watching shows. There's a reason why when people are watching movies and shows, they lean towards, DCI-P3 screens. A lot of times people go with an IPS screen, then they go to an OLED, and they're like, well, IPS screens, and I had this discussion, almost an argument last night with people, and I was like, you're confused. Color space and vibrancy has nothing to do with OLED. It's often OLEDs come with good color space because you're already paying the money for the high-end OLED tech, so a lot of brands aren't going to be stupid enough to also put a bad color space on it. IPS screens, you have a huge range. You have medium tier with like 100% sRGB. You have actually bad OLEDs, like the original Steam Deck. I don't even have it, but the original Steam Deck had a bad color space, physically bad color space. Then people went to the OLED, like the Steam Deck. They went from the Steam Deck original to the Steam Deck OLED. And yeah, you gain blacks, for sure. That's what an OLED does. But they also thought that it brought colors with it by default, but it didn't. It just happens to be that it had a good vibrant screen. The colors on this here are as rich as my Creator OLED laptop. That is a Creator, professional, bright, vivid. So that's going to be amazing here, right? So if you have yourself an Ally and you're thinking about it, you're like, yeah, it looks fine. And then you're like, but I also have an OLED, right? And the colors look more vibrant. That's not true, right? It's not by default that it is OLED, therefore it has good colors, and it's an IPS, therefore it has bad colors. That's not how this works. These are two IPS, both high refresh, yada, yada, yada. This one has better color space. Like, look at this vibrancy, right? And you can see there, like even in this scene here, we have those blacks in the background. These are no slouch. These are not bad blacks, right? In a dark room, sure, especially with a single coherent black background, you'll notice it. But here, we have black accents all over the place here, and it doesn't feel like it's not immersive because it's such a vibrant, bright screen with amazing colors that it just looks fantastic, right? Look at that. It's such a good screen. Also, no screen door effect either. None. I am infuriated by screen door effect. It drives me ballistic. Screen door effect is where it's like a hatching. We don't have that here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that scene. Look at that. The first thing you do if you decide to get this tablet, 3-in-1 laptop, handheld thingy, whatever, and you turn it on, you're going to be like, holy crap, is that ever a nice screen? That is the first thing you're going to say when you turn on this screen. You go on to something like this. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So the screen is killer, right? Creator level OLED screen made specifically for professional graphic design. X2 IPS. Well, aren't those colors more rich on the IPS? At least equal. So you can see the colors are identical. There's no difference. Well, imperceptible difference, but okay, here. You can probably see it on camera now though. Like that is darker than that. Here, hold on. There you go. Yeah, see now, let's get the brightness to what I see. I see about that. See how that's a little bit brighter over here? Then that's darker. That's the OLED blacks. Let's go maybe right about there. There, that's exactly what I see right there. See that? See how that's more gray? And that's more black? And this is a completely black room. See? All right, so now we're going to do an, oh, look at my, that's so weird. I'm like faded into that little, okay, anyway, whatever. So again, it's a tablet, it's a little different. You know, if you have something like this, like an ROG Ally, Legion Go S, you have the speakers down here that are, you know, in your hand coming right at your head. Right, so there's an advantage there that you're not going to get on something like a tablet here, where the tablet, you have the speakers over here and here. So it's a little harder for these speakers to fire into your head because they're going to go out sideways. Now, on that note, when you have the controllers attached, right, you have the controllers attached, let's put one on for the sake of that. Okay, so we're gaming. Typically my hands are here gaming, and you do get a little bit of rebound. As weird as that sounds, it actually is a thing. The sound will come up here and it'll bounce into your ears a little bit more. But in, you know, pure tablet mode, you know, this thing's going to be at a disadvantage because the sound is going out to the sides. So we'll see how it sounds. See what we can do here. Volume and audio. We'll compare it to the Ally because the Ally has always been known to have good audio. So we'll come in here and we'll play it. Audio on the top, or you can use the sliders, whatever. What was the audio on the top? Now it is very loud, actually, especially for a tablet. Now watch this. So just pause it. So what we saw there was the sound's coming out and it's filling the room. So this thing is actually a very room filling. It's going to come out there and it's going to fill the room. So you're going to get a lot of audio in the area that you're in. But it's not as directional because they're coming out of there. It's still, I mean, it's still stereo and it's very loud and it's separated physically, a large handheld tablet type thing. So there's stereo separation. But when I cupped my hands here, the audio came firing into my face. So I could see, you know, obviously there's an advantage when you're gaming. Again, you have the controllers here and the audio is going to bounce off your hand and go into your head, which sounds funny, but it will. But for, you know, pure tablet mode, it's fine. Let's quickly just come over here and I'll do a comparison. The Ally, look at how muted those colors are. The Ally's always been known to have good speakers. And they're directional. Yeah, these are really good speakers. Asus always has good speakers. That's one of their things. Like, whatever you say about them, their quality, their screens, garbage, the ergonomics, the reliability, the quality control, whatever it is you have as a negative about Asus, they do have good speakers. They know how to make a good set of speakers on really everything. So anyways, these sound really good though. I'll play this one more time. These are effing good speakers for a freaking tablet, honestly. These are like, I mean, normally when you get into like, the original Legion Go had just such bad speakers. And sometimes tablets have terrible speakers, but then you can get tablets that have really good speakers, right? Like a MacBook Air. These have very good speakers, right? These are better than the vast majority of the laptops that I test. Like it's way better than something like that. I have, you know, ThinkPads and that kind of stuff. These are way better speakers than that. My Legion Legion laptop, my gaming laptop, this is way better speakers than that. It also gets very loud too. Like physically gets quite loud. But I'm going to be quite honest with you. The audio on these are shockingly good. I'm happy for that, and that does make sense, right? You have a handheld here that's not just a handheld. So obviously you want good speakers for gaming, that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily always need to use the headphones as a result, but it's also a freaking tablet, right? Laptop, sure, you often want to have good audio when you're doing work and that kind of stuff. You want to have good audio, but when it comes down to it, it's not just that, it's also a tablet. In my opinion, tablets are kind of the one place where you really do have to have like excellent speakers because it's a tablet. It's a viewing device for watching shows. You're going to set this up. You're going to make your show large, right? You're going to come in here. You're going to make your screen large. You're going to watch your show, your TV show. You're going to have everything nice and big, your Netflix, whatever. And you want to have great audio out of this thing because it's a standalone media consumption device. And I can safely say this delivers with very good audio. So good job, OneXPlayer. I was not sure about the audio side of it and how it would stack up, especially being that it's a tablet and it's non-directional, like the speakers are going out that way rather than at me. This is very good. So if you're a person who's getting this device, not just for gaming, but the other side of this device here, I can assure you right now, the screen is incredible, obviously. And the audio is also very, very, very good. Top 95th percentile of electronics that I tested in terms of these speakers. It's quite good. Okay, now let's get into some productivity type benchmarks. It'll also allow us to check the thermals and the noise on this device here. We'll be able to see how loud it runs. We'll be able to see how hot it runs, that kind of stuff. And just generally what the CPU can do. This is a 3-in-1. I mean, even if it was just a handheld, these CPUs are getting so powerful in these handhelds, you can easily dock them and use them as primary PCs without issue. This is literally a 3-in-1, so it actually makes a lot of sense to be like that. Okay, so we'll start with noise and thermals. We have 30. This is a Panther Lake chip, so it's going to be wild efficient. But let's check the noise and thermals to start here. And then I've already done the scores, but we'll just get an idea of the thermals to start here and how noisy it is and that. So we'll come in here, we'll open this up, and we'll get started. Now this will, of course, emulate loads under gaming because it's an APU. So if the APU is getting 15 watts, whether you're gaming or CPU, tasks, it doesn't make a difference. It's 15 watts. So it is what it is. So we'll come down, check where we're at. So one very important thing to point out here is just how crazy efficient the CPU is. We're going to be idling on the CPU down sub 2 watts most of the time, right? It's a Panther Lake CPU. So like Lunar Lake, it's going to be crazy efficient. You can see here we're under 2 watts. We're like 1.5 watts idle. That's so low. That is so low. That's good because, I mean, if you're just using this device on battery, whether you're plugged in or not, that's going to mean that you're getting very good battery gen. Of course, we're charging it now, but you can come down here later. We'll check the battery life. Battery is going to be a combination of what the CPU is idling at. That's the primary contributor. But then we also have, the screen, all that kind of stuff too. So, but if we're idling around 1.5 watts, then the only other stuff that's taking any watt is like a drip off of, some of the internal components and the screen primarily. Actually, the screen becomes probably the most draining component on the entire device overall. But anyway, so that's fantastic. Very low watts. Let's come in here. Now, of course, you do have the OneXPlayer console. You press that, you can do your wattage sliders there. CPU on or off, turbo on or off, sorry. We'll leave it on. So we'll go 35 here, check the noise, and then we'll drop down. I already have the scores, but we'll see here. Now, thermals are obviously going to be something I'm very curious about because it's a tablet style. So of course we are at around 35 watts because we set it to 35 watts. Imagine that. The device is completely silent under idle. There is no noise. I mean, 1.5 watts. That can be passively cooled by just existing with a heatsink near it. So there's no noise, but once we start running stuff, there'll be some noise. Sitting at 35 watts. Your thermal's just fine. For a tablet especially, under 80 watts, or under 87, under 80 degrees Celsius is fantastic. TJ Max says looks like 27, so it looks like it can go around 100 in terms of TJ Max. At least that's what this is reporting. So we're not going to have thermal throttling probably ever in this device. The fans are running, and they're not that loud, for a tablet especially. My noise floor is about 34, 35 dB right now. So pretty damn quiet considering it's a tablet, not the thickest thing in the world. But again, it's a Panther Lake chip. It's just so efficient, right? Let's come down here. We'll go down. I've already done so much game testing on this thing, but I already know that, you know, when you go down to like 30 watts, it already becomes a lot quieter, right? Because it's lower watts, easier to keep cool. Well, let's come down maybe to like 25. That's like a good inflection point for like, you know, still having good CPU performance, all that kind of stuff here. So now we're at 25-ish watts. It's actually 1 watt above, but whatever. Temperature's dropping a lot, 69. And of course, it's now even quieter. Now, the nice thing about this is, you know, I am dropping the watts, but that does not decrease the performance, especially on CPU, as much as you might think. Chips are so efficient these days. Right now we're under 40 dB, which is very quiet for a device. Come down even further. Let's go down to 20. Give it a sec. $20 is actually about the same noise, generally speaking. It's a touch quieter, but it'll be like a 1 or 2 dB. It's come down even lower though. 15 is a very respectable amount on this device because you'll get good CPU performance. You'll see that in a moment. And you'll also get really good gaming performance. Not obviously as high as 35 watts, but still respectable. So you will have scenarios where you are gaming, doing work and all that on 15 watts. And it's almost imperceptible now. It is essentially at my noise floor, but I can't barely hear it. The mic might exaggerate, but I can barely hear it. I can tell that it's on. I can hear that the fans are on, but they are almost in line with my absolute noise floor. And most of the time, honestly, you can do heavy work, unless you're doing like heavy code compile. 10 watts is be fine, honestly. And you know, back in the day, Intel was not efficient. Intel was like bad. I'm talking like 13th gen, 12th gen, 14th gen. But I've been saying Intel's getting better and better and better. Now they are much more efficient than AMD, which isn't that just a shocking revelation that things can change over time. So performance now, here's the thing. It's quite good. So I have a Panther Lake B390 equipped laptop with an Intel 358H, which is, you know, the big one, one of the big ones, and it can do more than this, right? It has more cores. It has 2 more cores, and so I can get around 20,000 in Cinebench under full load. This is a Panther Lake chip. We're still getting 15,000. My primary laptop that I use, like my actual primary laptop, has an AMD 350. It's a gaming laptop with a 5070, and I do all my video editing on there, or most of it, and it only gets maybe an extra 1,000 over this, maybe 2. There's no perceptible difference in performance, though, at all, none. I also have an Arrow Lake laptop that I use all the time with a 285H. It can do more because it's an Arrow Lake. This has around Arrow Lake type performance, but that Arrow Lake has 2 more cores. So it's a 255, and it has a 255 with 2 more cores. So it gets better in Cinebench. But we can see here now, dropping down 25 watts, we're still doing quite good. 13,000 is exceptional for just 25 watts. Back in the day, 25 watts on like any normal CPU would be like trash performance. So that's really good. And then even dropping down all the way down, it doesn't actually say here, but this is 15 watts. I forgot to name it. This is 15 watts. And even at 15 watts, we're getting 10,000. 10,000 was the absolute peak of Lunar Lake, the previous generation of Intel that you got in handhelds, which was, you know, the efficiency king and still very good. You could do all your stuff on that. 10,000 is still quite good. And even then, it was getting 10,000. This at only 15 watts, like severely nerfed, is still getting almost 10,000. It's basically the exact same performance as as Lunar Lake under full load. Very good. This is very good, right? So using this as a primary rig for even things like heavy video editing, code compile, that like the heavy stuff, GIS work, engineering, this will be up to the task. Of course, it has that really powerful iGPU, of course, too. And now we'll come over here. Wi-Fi is the fastest I've ever seen my Wi-Fi go. I actually did not know that my Wi-Fi could physically go above 1 gigabit. I've never seen it that high. Watch my channel. Go back. I've never seen it that high. Now this is in the same room as my router. I'm not actually beside it, but it's in the same room. It's in my living room. That's totally fine. But even then, moving back to my office here, which is 2 rooms over around the house, we're still at 500. This is still fast. So it has good reception. Not as good as something that has a big massive antenna, but it's still quite good. And the Wi-Fi is capable of being incredibly fast, obviously. And the last thing here we'll just do is the SSD here. So we can see here that the SSD, we're looking at upper tier Gen 4 drives. Pet Predator, I don't know, is that an Acer drive? Probably. I've seen Acer drives primarily in OneXPlayer devices. It's probably an Acer Predator drive. Yeah, it looks quite good. So that's really nice. Okay, we'll do some game testing here. In this video, I'll probably just do Forza, to be honest. The reason is I want to show a game that is relatively agnostic towards AMD or Intel, just for people who might be comparing later and other chips and that kind of stuff. Every game still will prefer one or the other, but it'll just give us it's a game that tends to do well on most devices. What I want to show here is just raw performance, but also scaling, wattage scaling. We'll go through the different watts and see how they scale. Of course, I am using the wireless controller here. That's connected up here, and you can see. So that's obviously really nice. I mean, it's nice in general that I can do this rather than holding it handheld, which is how I play most of the time. But for recording, I mean, obviously this is quite nice. I don't have to have my hands reaching over and bumping the desk and being in the way. So that's good. Now I am going to have follow-up videos doing much more more game testing. And I will bring in some data. I've recently tested the AMD Strix Halo 388, which is their refresh, which is a lower core than the Strix Halo 395, meaning it's more efficient. So I'll bring in some data for that as well in the following videos to really show you guys, how this thing performs at different wattages and that kind of stuff, just so you know what's up. But here we're looking more at this device and what this device can do with different watts. And again, we'll do this one because it's a very GPU heavy game, but it actually does hit the CPU quite hard as well. So it's a good test where you're not just putting in some super CPU load or some GPU load only. We're doing kind of everything here. So that's really nice. And it's popular enough that people will actually care. Okay, so here we are. We're starting with peak watts here, so 35. And let's check our settings here, though. That's a weird, totally weird. We'll come in here and we'll check our settings. Now, one of the nice things about this device here is if we come down, we'll do 1200p. This device can also do 1600p and 1800p. But we'll just do 1200p just to start so people can get an idea, especially how this compares to other 1200p devices, like handhelds and that kind of stuff, because most of them are not 1800p. So go like that there. Anyways, and extreme. So this device here, one of the nice things about it is we have essentially unlimited VRAM. So I have this thing set to 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Technically it can do more, right? It can do up to 48 if it wants. And the RAM also, can do what it wants. So we're never going to exceed 48 gigabytes of RAM between VRAM and system memory DRAM in a game scenario. Like, I don't even know if that would be possible. I'm sure that challenge can be accepted and someone would find a way, but not normally, put it that way. So this is extreme, native, no scaling. We'll see what we can get here. So extreme, no scaling. And I'm actually, you can't see, but off camera I have my Strix Halo device. And I'm actually comparing to that visually. Yeah, so it's not bad. Now here's the thing, we're not going to exceed VRAM, as I said. It's borderline impossible, actually, to exceed VRAM under normal scenarios. Now we're getting 45 FPS on normal. On extreme, where do I get normal from? And we're at 35 watts. So we're not hitting VRAM bottlenecks, obviously. Like we can see up there, the system memory is 26. And 10 of that is being allocated to the GPU. This game will not run on an 8 gigabyte GPU at these settings. It is impossible. If you have yourself like a 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes, you will hit a VRAM bottleneck and you will get horrible performance. It's just the way that it is. It just does not have the VRAM to work. Okay, we'll come in here now, play with some settings. Now let's go down to where we go up, sorry, to high with RT. High with RT is actually in some ways easier to run, technically, because we have the VRAM to do the RT, and the APU is actually very good at RT, Intel stuff, and technically the textures are now going to be on high instead of extreme. Okay, so high RT, it's actually kind of the same, to be honest. It's very similar level performance, maybe slightly lower or higher. It's close. So as you can see here, we're doing quite well. Oops. Don't look at the FPS when you're driving. So yeah, you can see here we're doing pretty well here. Almost 50 FPS on high RT native, no scaling. It's pretty good, to be honest. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay. So now we're going to do some wattage scaling. So what we'll do is we'll just sit here and we'll do a little bit of wattage scaling, kind of see how this thing scales with different watts kind of stuff here. So let's throw in a touch of scaling. I mean, we can also just turn it down, but I just want to get, I want to get the FPS up slightly here. So we'll go like that here, we'll come down, and we'll go resolution scaling, XCSS obviously. Turn it up. I mean, we can do like balanced. It won't not look bad. XCSS actually looks quite good. Okay, so let's do some wattage scaling here now, see what we can get. So I threw on that little bit of scaling there, balanced XCSS. Visually it looks the same, really. You can't really see any issues. There's no fine line problems, no kind of sparkling or anything like that. It looks just fine. So that's good. Obviously, increasing scaling or adding scaling increases the FPS quite a bit. Let's sit here for a moment and we'll actually play with some scaling. So let me just, maybe so you can see, that's easier to see there. Go like that. Okay, so we can see where we're at here. 71, it's actually quite a big jump in performance, obviously. And we'll come over here. So let's go down to 30. No difference. Now, that there will look weird because the way that Afterburner measures Intel is just funny. It just doesn't understand it. I just put it in there just for my own reference, but the watts here are what we actually have. So 30 watts made no 30 watts made no difference. Maybe an frame. Go down to 25. 25, I guess we're down 4 or 5. Yeah, we're down, I don't know, I wouldn't even say 10%, I'd say like 5 or 6%, something like that, maybe 7 at most, and we've dropped down 10 watts. This is where the Intel stuff's very efficient, right? Okay, that guy came to sit right in front of me so that I can't see. Jesus. His name tag was right where the FPS was. Okay, try that again. So 69 here, 67. This is why I don't do benchmark runs, because this is more realistic. So 30 watts, 69, 75. Where are we going to sit here? We're going to set at about 75 at 30 watts. 35 watts, basically the same. So as expected, there's not really any difference between 30 and 35, at least in this game. But let's come down now to 25. There should be a drop. Yeah, now we're down a little bit. We're down around 5 FPS. So yeah, I mean, that's, it's not 10%, it's like 7% performance drop from 10 wattage difference. It's pretty impressive, right? Come down even further, go to 20. Now we should see a decent drop. I mean, this is Intel, right? It's so efficient, right? We have dropped down from 35 down to 20 watts, so a 15 watt, not quite half, but getting there. And we have lost, in this scenario, like 9 frames or something like that. It's pretty impressive, you have to admit. Okay, we'll come down to literally half the peak watts. 17, now it dropped, see that? So 17 versus 20. 55 watts or so, or sorry, 60 or so. 61, I'll come down here again. And it does drop down to 55 or so. Like 10%, or not quite, but close. Right, so this is why Intel, so AMD has the edge at peak watts, just so you know. I've done so much testing. AMD at peak watts, you know, above 35 watts, 55, that kind of stuff, it can go that high. AMD has a clear advantage over Intel, other than some games, right? Some games Intel will do better, some games AMD will be better. Intel has, you know, potentially better scaling XeSS unless the game has FSR4, So it's just messy up in those high watts, but generally, as a trend, AMD is more powerful. Strix Halo, we're talking Strix Halo here. But Intel here, like this, at 15 watts, Strix Halo is non-functional. 20 watts is already a huge drop. I've already done videos on this. Here, 15 watts, yeah, there is a drop between 15 and 20 watts, but it's performant regardless of what you're at, right? So let's come down here, we'll go even lower. Let's go 13 watts. That's very low. And we're still, are we going to set above 45 FPS? Yes, we are. You could increase scaling, and this is high RT, high with RT. This is not medium, this is not low, this is high RT, but with some scaling, of course. But see what I'm saying here? This is where this device excels. These crazy high, 10 watts, we're still above 35 FPS. And you could just turn it down, right? 10 freaking watts. So let's do that. Let's actually turn down the settings here a little bit, just a touch. So we're going to come in here, we're going to turn on the settings a little bit, because it's a bit much. I mean, for 10 watts, yeah, I'm not ridiculous. I mean, I am, but I'm not unfair. We'll put it that way. So let's go down here. Let's just go like medium. That's a pretty substantial drop in requirements there. And we're just going to do this, and we're going to play at like low wattages, and then we can, you know, crank it and see what this thing can do when it's, you know, when the training wheels are off, kind of deal. So that's medium now. And it's not a huge difference. Little bit, right? We're at 45. I mean, it is actually a decent amount. We're at 45 FPS. I guess that is not as bad as I thought. This is 10 watts, right? 10 watts. Let's drive. And I'm actually going to do one other thing here. Watch this. Make sure we're on battery. So this is 10 watts now. That charge rate thing I can't get to work. Hardware info keeps crashing as I'm trying to run it. So unfortunately, I can't give you the battery discharge and recharge. But I mean, we're using 10 watts on the CPU and I don't know, 5 or 6 for the rest of the system, something like that. So, and this is 10 watts. This is 10 watts gameplay. 10 watts gameplay here. And just to prove it again, try to do this while I'm paying attention to the screen. 10 watts. See that? 10 watts. Look at that. Now it's not 50 FPS, but it's hella playable at 10 watts. But let's say you're okay to just give it another, pause for a sec. Say you're okay to give it another 5 watts, which, I mean, it is going to make a difference in terms of battery, but not like astounding. And that'll give it a little bit more oomph, right? That 10 watts there, that extra 5 watts there. So now we went to 15 watts, and all of a sudden we're at almost 60. It shows how this is 15 watts. This is Steam Deck watts. And we're down, I would drop down to medium here, of course. But, you know, I'm trying to play low watt scenarios here. Look at that performance. And, you know, we don't have to do a ton here. I will have follow-up videos, as I said, lots of follow-up videos. But I just want to show you how efficient this chip is. It's a good chip, generally speaking, quite powerful, right? It trades blows with Strix Halo in general. That's its competition, right? Strix Halo is faster at high watts. Everybody knows this. I don't want to hear debates of this and that. We already know this. Data's been out for a long time. I've started testing the 388. I'm one of the first to test the 388, and it's slightly more efficient than the 395, but it's not making a monumental difference. Regardless, Strix Halo is faster at peak watts, you know, above 35 watts, but when you start to drop it down, especially below 30, Strix Halo below 30, like 25, and then especially 20, it's not even close to this. This thing will just absolutely crush AMD at low watts, and then AMD takes the lead at high watts. So that's a good thing for people who are, you know, fanboy to brand Intel, brand AMD, brand NVIDIA, which is, I hate that. It's disgusting that people do that. But what we're getting here, as everyone benefits from this, is we get competition. Competition is wonderful, right? We have 2 brands that are competing head to head. I have the OneXPlayer 3 coming with Intel, and I have the OneXPlayer X2 Mini Pro with AMD coming. They're very similar handhelds, and I want both, because they're not the same. One of them is a high wattage performer, one of them is a low wattage performer. You have 2 options now on APUs, and they're both good. They just offer different things. I'll see people in the comments of this video who, you know, really want Intel, low wattage, and I agree with it, right? It's fantastic that we're able to get crazy performance at 15 watts in a brand new title, right? Even 10 was doing pretty well. And then for some people, you know, they don't care about that. They're like, I'm going to be tethered most of the time, plugged into the wall, and, you know, I'm going to be at, you know, this thing peaks at the performance that 35 gives us, which is still pretty good, but it's going to peak at this performance, right? Well, it's still very good. It's like a freaking 100 FPS. But anyways, Anyways, AMD will be faster above this. So this is peaking. You can't go any above 35 without tweaking some stuff. And AMD will be faster here, and it will be faster when you go higher, because this can't go any higher. So we have two brands, right? We have the brands for people who are always going to be tethered, don't really care. You know, it's all about the peak performance on a handheld, which I totally get that. That's sick, and I'm going to do that as well. And then you have people who want a handheld like this, or the OneXPlayer 3, depending on your screen size. And you want low wattage performance, right? And even 35 is medium watts. Like this is what I consider like high to medium, because like these handhelds, this does 40. This Legion Go here does 40, right? So this is even below that. And the Legion Go, I mean, it's kind of peaking around 35 anyways. So this is like your standard handheld watts, right? Like last generation stuff. Very standard, and it's way faster than those. And then, of course, as you decrease the watts, right, your performance doesn't drop as much as you want, as you think. Right, let's go down to 20 again. Actually, let's go 25 for a sec here, which is kind of like a middling wattage. It's almost no performance drop. Right, you're dropping down 10 watts, and you're losing like a few frames. Right, it's very good, so... yeah, not bad. Okay, so that's probably enough, for, honestly, for this video in terms of the game testing. We could just test games and games and games, but I don't want this video to be a million years long. We kind of know what the B390 can do. It's been out for long enough. You know, the MSI stuff's been out for a while. I've had laptops and that kind of stuff with it. We kind of know roughly where it falls, generally speaking. So this is more of a review of the hardware itself. But I will, like I said, I will have a lot more content, game testing specific content here, and comparative game testing. So I will be testing this against AMD, for example. So come back for that, other videos, but let's now continue on with the review. So should you get AMD or Intel? Now this is a little different because this one is a tablet, and right now there is no AMD one. You know, if you're getting OneXPlayer, which is an awesome brand, obviously, you can get the X2 Mini Pro, and you can get the OneXPlayer 3, which is Intel and AMD. I bought both. So you can also just buy them both. But if you're buying one or the other, I can give you a general breakdown. We already know this. It's been on, Chinese reviewers have done this months ago. In the West here, we've done, there's other big reviewers who have done Panther Lake handhelds with the LG3E. I've done a lot of Panther Lake laptop stuff already. I've been using a Panther Lake for months. And, you know, we know now what AMD can do, the Strix Halo. I have tested the 388, which is the new AMD. And I think I might be the only one to do that in English language, or at least in the West. But I've already tested it extensively. I have a laptop that has it, and I've done like tons of game testing. So I can tell you roughly what the situation is here. Intel, low watts, crushes AMD. So if you want to be at 15 watts, 10 watts, 20 watts, even 25 watts, Intel has the crown. It's going to perform better. It's not going to lose as much performance. It's going to be very acceptable. So if you're going for that max battery, but still good performance, it's great. Of course, going up to 30 and 35 watts does still increase performance on Intel. It's not like it plateaus at 25 watts, but the drop off at those lower watts is significantly less of an issue on Intel than it would be on Strix Halo AMD. Strix Halo AMD, even with the 388 that is more efficient, yes, when you go down, I've already tested, I have the video on YouTube, you can go watch it, I'll put it up here. When you go to 20, from 25 down to 20 watts, it's a big drop in performance. Down to 15 is unplayable. In most cases it's unplayable. You can do it in some games, but in many cases unplayable. 20 watts is acceptable, 25 is actually pretty good, 30 watts is solid. And then as you keep going up, it starts to just get faster and faster and faster. So the AMD one is for people who are often going to be tethered or just need like short, like it's a 1 hour flight. You only need that. So whatever, the handheld will be fine on battery. Or if you're going to be plugged in a lot, power plugged in a lot, yes, AMD is faster at those higher watts. Slap it into 45 watts, slap it into 50 watts, 55 watts. AMD is faster than Intel. There are cases where Intel is faster because some games prefer Intel and some games prefer AMD. That may be a decision for you. Right? If you play a lot of Battlefield or you play a lot of Call of Duty, pick the one that's better for you, right? Battlefield, Intel. Call of Duty, AMD. Pick the one that's best for you. If you just like are me and you just like play everything, then it's going to all average out anyways between AMD and Intel favored hardware. So then it just comes down to, do you want lower wattage performance or higher wattage performance? Intel, get lower wattage. AMD, higher peak performance. Done. Moving on. Also, SteamOS does have slightly better support on AMD right now, but that's not going to be forever. Intel is getting very fast on SteamOS. Okay, so we've made that decision. Now you've decided to pick up an Intel handheld, potentially this one. Why would you pick up this one? I don't have the OneXPlayer 3 right now, unfortunately. I have bought it. It'll be here very soon. It'll ship probably in a couple weeks. This would be the sit-in for it, right? Like this is the OneXPlayer 3 type thing. This is the 8-inch screen. That is an 8.8-inch screen, but this is the handheld, the typical handheld, right? So I mean, if you're looking for just like, I just want a handheld. I want an Intel handheld or AMD, whatever, but just say you want an Intel handheld, yeah, you get the OneXPlayer 3. Right? The OneXPlayer 3. It's just a handheld, right? Yes, you can hook it up to a monitor and you can use it as a computer. It has a Panther Lake chip. It's very fast. You can do video editing and coding and all that kind of stuff on it. But when it comes down to it, like you're not going to use this as your primary interface as a computer. You're going to use it as a game device. If you then want to hook it up to a computer, you're going to plug it in, go like that, and you're going to plug in peripherals, that kind of stuff. You're not taking this to class and then using it as your your work thing. You have to bring an external monitor, all that kind of stuff. This doesn't have that problem, right? If you're only using it in its kind of professional, academic, whatever, that kind of standpoint, productivity, this is it, right? You have a tablet and you have a keyboard and it's very portable and it works well. It's got a crazy good screen, awesome speakers, big enough, like it's much bigger than those. So it's not only bigger, it also literally is all those things. And then it also is a handheld. So you can hook it up like this tablet mode. You can detach these, attach them to the side. You have an actual gaming handheld. So if you are looking for, the true 3-in-1 setup here, you want a game. I mean, let's say you don't care about the 3-in-1. Let's break this down. You don't care about the 3-in-1. Okay, you don't care about the fact that it does the tablet, the laptop. You don't care about that. Just for a gaming handheld, should you buy this? Maybe. It's a massive screen. You've seen in the Ergo side, have this in here with these hooked up like this, or when these are attached to the side of it. It's such a good device for being a handheld. Like it truly is such a good device for being a handheld. Let's hook it up here, just so it's like in its handheld form for this part here, right? It's super, super, super immersive to have a massive screen like this. Good speakers too this year. We have really good speakers this year, but a massive screen, right? So people will be like, why would you buy that? Why wouldn't you just buy a laptop? Because it's a laptop. It's not a handheld, right? There's a reason why people buy handhelds, because they want a handheld. Oh, just buy a desktop. I don't want a desktop. I want a handheld. So I'm going to buy a handheld. But I also want a really big screen, right? I don't want the Ally's there. I don't want the 7-inch screen. It's actually my camera's sitting. Your camera's sitting on my Ally. That's what it's good for, being a stand. I don't want an 8-inch screen, right? I don't want an 8.8-inch screen, which is still pretty big. I want an 11-inch screen. Well, then you buy this. A massive screen. Nothing is more immersive than an 11-inch screen in front of you. And it's not as big as like the Z13 from Asus or like the Super V or the Super X, which, yeah, you could attach controllers to it. It's like a cookie sheet in front of your face, right? Literally like a cookie sheet. This is right in between. It's not too big, but it's also really big. So it's fantastic. Okay, so if you want a handheld that has a giant screen and a modern Panther Lake chip, yeah, 48 gigabytes of RAM, yeah, obviously get this. It's killer. If you want something that does the tablet side of it, right? This can replace your handheld. It can replace your viewing tablet, if just for like watching shows and movies. It can replace your gaming tablet if you get like a Legion tablet, and you can hook these up externally. Replace that. It can definitely replace your iPad with a keyboard hooked up to it, unless you really need Mac OS or iPad OS or whatever, which you probably don't. You can use this. And of course, honestly, it could replace a laptop. If you don't need a big, massive, 16-inch screen or something like that, this is doable, trust me. So that's it there. It's an awesome product. I will have more videos. Links down below. Again, use those links if you can. They support my channel. I will have more videos, specifically game testing videos and comparisons. I will do a lot of comparisons on this here. I'm going to save some of it because I'm going to cover everything. I'm going to save some of it for the OneXPlayer 3 versus the OneXPlayer X2 Mini Pro, which is AMD and Intel compared, because they're like the exact same thing. We'll compare those. That'll be fun. But I am going to have more game testing on this tablet. So stick around for that, probably in a day or two. Put them out, something like that. Just stagger them. And there you go. That's the X2, just X2. Just the OneXPlayer X2. Panther Lake G3E. It looks funny when it's fully geared up. It's such a good product. You know me. If you watch my channel, you probably saw the X1 Pro and X1 Air popping up on my channel quite a bit, and I loved it. It was an awesome product. And this is the evolution of it. Current gen. They call it next gen, but it's current gen now. Panther Lake, awesome performance, killer product. Check it out.